it was a direct mail campaign, fittingly, to raise funds to bring a CT suite to our emergency room at the hospital.
I
And
remember.
certainly DirectWish was our partner, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
So, I think every campaign starts with a great project, right? Or a great product if you're selling something, or in our case, a great project to raise funds for. And I think, the CT suite was that, because we can all identify with being in the emergency room, waiting for care, being worried and wanting a diagnosis that was accurate and fast. And, that's exactly what this project was designed to do. And so, we built a lovely direct mail package and we sent that out. But I think, we didn't just send it out and cross our fingers and hope it worked. I really feel like integrated campaigns is like, the key to success here.
Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Let's Be Direct, DirectWorks podcast for everything, well, could be direct mail or other things as well. This morning we're super excited to have Carrie Trembinski from the St. Joe's Healthcare Foundation. Carrie is VP of Communications and Community Partnerships at the Foundation. And Carrie's a leader in her field, although you never guess by her youthful exuberance, a veteran of communications, including creative and strategy, PR in corporate, not-for-profit, public sector industries. Carrie's skilled in media relations, social media strategy, agency, team and project management. She's managed many crisis management situations, probably in relationship with us at some point too. Internal and external communications. Carrie is a speech writer, executive counsel. And what we love about Carrie is that she's just been passionate about PR that has the power to make a difference in communities. And finally, Carrie is one of only 500 communications professionals accredited by the Canadian Public Relations Society. So, Carrie, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to come and see us today and join us for this.
Thanks for having me and for my lengthy introduction.
Yes. Well, I think you deserve it.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll see.
You've done a lot. You've been around this industry and in many different industries or other industries as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure where we've crossed paths many times in the past. And speaking of the past, just looking back over your 2-decade career in marketing, fundraising, and communications, what would you give if it's possible to imagine a younger you, which I can't, but what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I think
It can be about life too, by the way. If you want it to be about life, that's
yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure I have lots of lessons to give myself about life. But about work, I think what I never expected was just how much the industry would change over those 2 decades. So if I think back to my early career, we were sending out press releases with a fax machine, if that doesn't date me too much. And, social media was not part of my day-to-day job. Now I have a full-time team member dedicated to social media. And even that sometimes is a challenge to get it all done because there's so many platforms. And I haven't touched a fax machine in over a decade for sure. So I think, with the advice I would give to my younger self, and thank goodness, it was one that I heeded, was really to stay abreast of what's coming and stay ahead of it, or, you do get left behind. At the same time, what's fascinating about communications is that there are some tried and true things that can't go by the wayside. So, being a strong writer will always be your greatest asset. And, the importance of proofreading and fact checking before you send something to print or send it out there onto the world of social media is vitally important today as it was, 20 years ago when I started.
Yeah, I think that makes a great point. I mean, and even such which channels you're going with. I mean, you have to look at your audience and decide, how am I speaking to them, but how am I also relaying that message to them, right? Because I think the platform that you use to disseminate information is almost as important as the content. I mean,
For
if
sure.
you're sending it out to the right message sent by the wrong method, right?
100% won't land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've obviously learned a lot over the last, 15 plus years doing this. I mean, What was one thing that surprised you? Great, maybe give us a story of something that surprised you most during a campaign or a project.
Hmm. Um, I think as communicators, we really view ourselves as the bridge between an organization and its audiences, right? But I think what I've learned over the years is that you can get too close to it. And a great example from healthcare is that because we work with clinicians a lot, we'll use words like nephrology when we mean kidney, and we'll use oncology when we mean cancer. And you get so close to what you're doing that you actually stop seeing that stuff. And so I think it's really important to step back and to seek feedback and make sure that what you're writing is actually written with your audience in mind and not necessarily your organization in mind. And I think that's been a consistent lesson that, we forget from time to time, and then someone reads it and they don't know what we're talking about, and so you really do have to remind yourself to step back, to write it with that audience in mind, to remove that jargon that is so familiar to you but means absolutely nothing to anybody else but you.
Yeah,
So yeah, those would be two lessons, and the other one I would say is just the importance of bringing value, particularly right now where we're getting information from so many sources, right? It's information overload. And so, what makes me open one email over another? And for me, it's those people that can bring us value. And so, our donors have told us over and over again, yes, of course, they need to know when our next event is or what our fundraising priorities are. But what they love the most is actually hearing from healthcare providers. So, amidst the pandemic, our infectious disease expert, Dr. Zane Chagla, who is incredible, really like including messages from him in our publications, about the latest wave and how transmissible it was, or the new vaccine and was it safe? I think people really appreciated that value. And so we've actually put a quality metric in place there to make sure that we're including those healthcare tips, information from our professionals in our communications materials, because we know it's bringing value to our readers and helping them to open our things.
yeah. So I think that's fantastic. You've covered a couple of keys to a successful campaign. I think, one of them, of course, the narrative has to be something that resonates, and the language has to resonate with the right audience, and then leveraging those personalities or those perspectives that really will connect and have an inherited trust factor to them. For example, using your clinicians, your doctors,
Yeah.
you know you're getting the right people in front that perhaps create an emotional response or cause somebody to kind of sit up a little bit and go, yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what this doctor's busy. Everybody knows doctor's busy, and he's talking to me. That's fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to this. This is really interesting. I'm hearing it right from the front lines.
Yeah. The credible experts, right? I feel like that's really important.
Yeah. And so, if you're saying, like, I guess some of the best practices as well would be obviously you've got your usual audience and creative and offers and on that side of things. What else would you say, just basically based on your experience, mainly in the healthcare? I know you've been outside of the healthcare, but what other keys have you? Um, what other buttons have you pushed that seem to really resonate and create that kind of response?
Yeah, I was ready for this one. So I did think about some successful campaigns, and the most recent one I can talk about is really one. It was a direct mail campaign, fittingly, to raise funds to bring a CT suite to our emergency room at the hospital,
I
and
remember.
certainly DirectWish was our partner, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I think every campaign starts with a great project, right? Or a great product if you're selling something, or in our case, a great project to raise funds for. And I think, the CT suite was that, because we can all identify with being in the emergency room, waiting for care, being worried and wanting a diagnosis that was accurate and fast. And, that's exactly what this project was designed to do. And so, we built a lovely direct mail package and we sent that out. But I think, we didn't just send it out and cross our fingers and hope it worked. I really feel like integrated campaigns is like, the key to success here. So,
Right.
again, we leverage those credible experts. We offered the media the chance to chat with our chief of emergency medicine, our chief of diagnostic imaging. We put an ad in the paper. We, built a web page with a fundraising thermometer, and we did some social too, so that no matter whether someone was receiving this in the mail or watching CHCH, flipping through the paper or scrolling through their phone, they knew what was happening and how they could be a part of it. So I think, you know, that integration of a campaign, direct mail is a piece of it, but there are other pieces too. And that together, that's where the magic is, right? Is reinforcing it. And then they think, oh, I did see that mailer. Where did I put that? Let me go grab it because I'd like to make a gift after hearing that doctor on
Yeah.
CHCH, you
Right.
know?
Right. That's it's fantastic that you brought that up, because we preach this all the time with our customers, and anytime we can. It's not direct mail or digital. It's not digital or traditional. It is pull them all together and find a way to reach. And when you do that, and I know my own experience, just witnessing this particular campaign, it was everywhere, and it really did connect with me that this is a problem. Like, they're putting a lot of effort. Somebody's putting a lot of effort to solve a problem, and like you said, people can relate to that delay. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most you know contentious issues in Canadian
For
healthcare is this
sure.
this concept of delay, delay, delay. Because we all know the timing is so important for your health, especially if there's emergencies. And let's face it, when things are going really well, you don't really. It's like you don't go to you don't go to the bank when you don't need money,
Yeah.
right? So you don't really think about it that much. But if you can bring that top of mind, I think it almost underscores a sense of urgency and a call to action just by leveraging multiple
Mediums.
media, from traditional to digital to direct mail, and timing it all well. And that's something you guys have done an amazing job with. And if I was to say that if there's one if there's one tip, one piece of advice and one thing that I'd love for all of our customers to do, is to really find ways to integrate. And we can help them with that, of course, and their own agencies can. And the experts like you helping with podcasts like this, we get that message out. So
Yeah, but it's hard, I think sometimes the temptation is like, oh, like this did work or this didn't work, but you really have to look at all the pieces of a campaign to really kind of measure accurately, right? So,
absolutely. With the measuring side, let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up, because what maybe you could give us a really high level view of what you and some of your team do in terms of measuring. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we can throw a lot of stuff out there, and you can say, yeah, that was a successful campaign. Hopefully, you will know that. How would you know that?
well, yeah, I mean, I think there's different measures of success, right? So certainly, like one thing that we do measure is like, every direct mail campaign we do, if they are fundraising related, would have a financial goal associated with it. But that's really just one piece, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes it's were we able to bring in new donors, people who've never given to us before, and that's kind of something too, because you're building a new relationship, and that's really important to growing the number of people who kind of know about St. Joe's and appreciate, the services we're providing the community. So number of new donors. Sometimes it's like it's converting them from a one-time donor or an event participant to becoming like a monthly donor, or a second time donor, and that's deepening that relationship, which in turn is a great thing for all of us. So again, it's not just like dollars raised. It's sometimes it's open rates or click through rates, or did they visit our website? Like, what were we asking them? What was that call to action? And how many people took that call to action? And just because they didn't give this time, but they did come to our website, that's still a
it's a lead.
conversion of some sort and an important step in building that relationship. So I think it's really important not to just measure one thing, but to measure a couple of things and look at, did they open it? Did they click on it? Did they give? Like, those are different steps, but they're all equally important.
Right, right. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that summary, because I think a lot of expectations are unrealistic, and you have to go into these things with your eyes open and understand that they might take numerous channels and numerous attempts to warm up, right? And
And know
make
the
those and treat
benchmarks
those
too,
leads.
right? Like, I think, if you had, a 13% response rate to a mailer, it doesn't sound great, but actually that's phenomenal, And
Yeah,
so knowing your industry benchmarks and comparing apples to
yeah,
apples, and that's part of it too, right? Otherwise, there's a real danger of those stats being misinterpreted, and digital even more so, like a 2% click through on a digital ad is like you're crushing it. You're doing a great
yeah, right.
job. But it's 2%. Sounds, if we got that on a test, we'd all be devastated, right? So,
That's right. Wow. Well, I want to congratulate you and your team for doing an awesome job and managing this complex world of many media and many communication styles and being as successful as St. Joe's has and being a big part of providing our community with fantastic healthcare. And
Well,
yeah,
we've got a
it's
great
been,
cause and we've got some great partners in you. So, thanks for your support
well,
too.
it isn't, yeah, it's true that it takes a village sometimes, right?
Yeah, it does.
To get the village into a better healthcare position, as well as just get that communication out there. And thank you for your time this morning. That was awesome. Some fantastic tidbits in there, and amazing insights from somebody who I know I have a deepest respect for, and who has proven herself, and will continue to do so. I'm sure, Carrie. Thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.